call the roll.
Freeholder Di Nicola.
Here.
Freeholder Felice.
Present.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Here.
Freeholder Voss.
Here.
Freeholder Zur.
Here.
Freeholder Chairman Tinelli.
Here. Evidence of a quorum is present. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please read the minutes to be accepted?
April 6, 2016, public session, all present. April 13, 2016, work session. Freeholder Zur, absent.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We will now have a hearing of the general public with a 3-minute time limit in effect. The board attorney will keep the time. When the time of the speaker is expired, the timekeeper will announce that the time has expired. Please fill out a form, a slip of paper with your name, address, and your general topic. So if anyone hasn't filled one and like to speak, please see the gentleman to my right. First person to speak is Mr. Weissman.
Hi. Neilewissman. Thank you.
Good evening.
Chairman Tinelli, Freeholders, thank you for the opportunity to speak. You have copies of my remarks with photos. I'm here to ask for a resolution calling on the Port Authority to widen the bicycle pedestrian paths on the George Washington Bridge to comply with national standards as part of the upcoming recabling. Over the next 8 years, the Port Authority will spend $1.9 billion to upgrade the GWB and access roads in order to extend its life for another 90 years. This will include replacing the suspender cables and ripping out and restoring the 1931-era 6.75-foot wide paths beneath. Unless those paths are widened to relieve severe overcrowding, 600 users per hour and on track to double by 2024, the sole bikeable connector between North Jersey and New York City will be a bottleneck on the growth of cycling.
Slow down. I know you're trying to get all your information. Just slow down a little bit so that the clerk can keep up, please. When she starts hiking up in her chair, I know that she's starting to move at sight speed.
All right. The benefits to the region include enhancements to residents' opportunities for exercise and recreation, sustainability and resilience, competitiveness and the regional economy, even to the region's property tax base. Tonight, I will touch on 2 of those benefits. Active transportation added $500 million to New Jersey's economy in 2011, or $56 per resident. That's $51 million a year to Bergen per capita. Likely more, given the steady stream of cyclists coming from New York City. This directly benefits Bergen, eateries, and bike shops, a dozen of whom already support the GWB's widening. By 2018, the bike path on the new Tappan Zee will open, creating a 44-mile loop through Rockland, Westchester, and back over the GWB. This will further increase benefits if the GWB is widened to expand capacity. If the Trans-Hudson tunnels, already 100 years old and salt damaged by Superstorm Sandy, need to be taken offline before new tunnels can be built, which I think is going to be 2030 at the earliest, service would be reduced by 75% for years at a time, with knock-on effects up and down the Northeast Corridor and throughout the region. But robust paths on the GWB could support thousands of commuters per hour, freeing up bus and train seats for others, just like bike traffic across New York's East River bridges surged from 13,000 a day to 30,000 after Sandy. And a bike commute from Fort Lee to World Trade Center is 68 minutes. 110 bike clubs, shops, government agencies, and elected officials are in support, including the executives of Rockland, Orange, Dutchess counties, and Hudson Valley Tourism, 3 community boards, in Manhattan and the Bronx, and about a half dozen elected officials, Assemblywoman Huddle, and 11 members of Congress, including Pascrell. I believe Bergen has a lot to gain or lose, depending on what the Port Authority decides to do. I respectfully request that it add its voice to those already in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
If I could just for a moment, I'm an avid cyclist myself, and I've toured many times to Coney Island from Jersey, and I cycle up to Nyack, and a lot of the riders come over the bridge. And I think it's a great idea for economic, but also for the environment, people to cycle more. So I look forward to looking more into this and possibly supporting this as well. I think it's a great idea.
On the bottom of your remarks, there's a link to the site which really deals with it on a regional basis and addresses the environmental
Great.
issues.
Are you a cyclist too? Okay, great.
Shocker. Thank you.
Chairman, I just wanted to suggest that you refer that to a committee to study and report.
Okay. Well, I'd spoken to Mr. Weissman prior to the meeting, and I'm actually was in the process of trying to put something together to distribute to the board. But the committee's just as well. We have an avid bike rider sitting right up on the dais, so.
Could I ask one question, Mr. Chairman? Who is Joseph Lertola?
Oh, I'm sorry, he's a friend. He's a graphics artist. He's worked for the New York Times. He works privately.
Okay, thank you.
He's available if you need someone to do illustrating.
Great,
Yeah, I
thank
know,
you.
Mr. Chairman, when you ride over the bridge, even though the fence is 6 feet, it's very awkward because it's very far down. It's low.
It's about 44
Yeah.
44 inches.
So, but I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just
Thank
had
you.
to say.
Mr. Cronin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Cronin, Rochelle Park. First of all, I want to apologize for coming before you so many times to speak about an issue, but I think Rochelle Park, this intersection, has been going on for 10 years. And just the other day, I found out from our township engineer, from Mr. Sheehan, who's an engineer in the department of whatever it is, that this project has been delayed another year. Now, 10 years, I know government moves slow, but 10 years, you got to reset your watch. That's basically my issue with Rochelle Park, is that, you know, nothing has happened in 10 years. I don't think I envision anything happening for another year. Intransigence on whose part, I have no idea. But it's apathetic, really, when I look at the situation and see that a minor correction could be made to the road,
Sure.
and nothing has been happened. You wanted to say something, Dr.
Well,
DeVille?
why don't you finish first?
Okay.
Finish first.
Okay. The second issue is I want to thank you for the Irish famine thing that was held approximately 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, the weather was not too good. I think we have more people in the front of the room than in the back of the room, but it is what it is. But maybe next time there'll be more input from both sides, that we will have a greater attendance. My final thing is that as a retired pharmacist who spent almost 40 years in all aspects of pharmacy, spending the last 35, 40 years in industrial pharmacy, we had issues with the compounding of prescriptions. In my entire life, compounding of prescriptions should be virtually a non-existent entity. And I see that your budget was something like $8 million. Someone has to have a better control over that. Now, that's all I had to say.
County Administrator?
You wanted to say something?
Gladly speak to issues 1 and 3. With issue 1, sir, I'm sorry. Who did you said you spoke to the township?
The township engineer, Ken Jobe.
Did they have engagement with a specific county?
Yes, Mr. Sheehan.
Mr. Sheehan?
Right.
Okay. All right. So-
And he was told The township engineer was told that there would be a delay. When I spoke to you in August and I outlined this
right.
thing, I was looking for curbing, and apparently the county is not all attuned to putting in curbing. But you're going to put in almost 200 feet of curbing. All I wanted you was to go down the entire length of the street, which would be another maybe quarter of a mile.
Quarter mile, right, I remember that. Okay, let
Your
me,
memory's better than mine, but
let me, just, not really, but.
okay.
But I know that we did have a very positive meeting, and that's why I want to.
August 28th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Holy cow. I give you a lot of credit for that.
That's the Irish in it.
And let's, I'll circle back and check to see what the reason was that was provided.
Okay.
And just one comment on the compounds. From the administration's perspective, it was really a no-brainer. When we're seeing a trend where we spent 3.8 million last year, and we were trending this year towards 11 million, north of 11 million, and that was money that was not budgeted, that's extremely troubling. Because in the end, I know people don't want to hear it, but in order for our treasurer to put a budget together with those types of numbers, it means the elimination of jobs and services.
Compounding of prescriptions in today's medical and pharmaceutical environment should be an extremely rare entity.
It's not.
And
And,
I appreciate hearing that from somebody who was a professional for 4 decades, and I appreciate you sharing that information.
Right, and please accept my apologies for taking your time this past year. You know, believe it or not, I enjoyed it. Thank you very, very much.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Salvatore Del Sandro.
Yes. Dealessandro. I'd like to speak tonight, first of all, Mr. Chairman, Freeholders, I'd like to speak tonight about the east and west tidal gates. East tidal gate located on Starkey Drive in Carlstadt, and the west tidal gate located on Purcell Court in Moonachie. These both tidal gates are the backbone of the drainage system in the towns of Moonachie, Little Ferry, Carlstadt, Teterboro, South Hackensack, and of course Moonachie. I belong to a citizens advisory group which was part of Rebuilt by Design. I'm sure you're all aware of the program. It was awarded $200 million. This money is to go to various projects throughout the towns to alleviate flooding. I don't have to mention the word Sandy. It was devastating to these towns. We also have various other problems with drainage. My concern is that we're going to spend $200 million of federal monies. We have the New Jersey DEP involved in this project. We also have various other groups. My concern is we have replaced the West Riser tidal gate approximately 3 years ago at the cost of approximately $2.1 million. The problem here is that this tidal gate has lacked maintenance, and I have to say practically from day one since it was put in. The problem that it is causing, the water is not able to be released from the incoming end out to Berries Creek. I have a couple of photographs here with me of the debris that's in front of the screens of this tidal gate. when it was put in by the Meadowlands Authority, which is now the New Jersey Sports Authority, and the new Port Authority, New York and New Jersey, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the maintenance of these screens was left up to the Bergen County for maintenance. I'm here this evening to
3 minutes
find out.
elapsed. Just please wrap it up if you don't mind.
I'm sorry.
Your time's expired. If you could just wrap it up just for a second, and then the
Real
administrator
quick,
and myself will
I'm
comment.
trying to find out if if Bergen County is responsible for it, and who can I contact in order to get this maintenance and these screens properly cleaned. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. D'Alessandro, we're going to get, my aide will give you a card. I'll be in contact with you to give you whatever information we find out. We'll get you that answer hopefully tomorrow or Friday as to who's
Thank you so
responsible to
much.
clean up, and we'll make sure somebody gets down there.
Thank you.
Judith Vashko. How was that?
My name is Judith Ibash, so it's E-B-A-S-H. First, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak here tonight. I am homeless, as is my son Greg, who suffers the effects of Marfan syndrome. We both are longtime Bergen County residents. We're among the many homeless overlooked during the point-in-time head count, as we've been sofa surfing since August of 2013. Lori Stratton of United Way and her manager deemed us our situation extenuating circumstances and offered financial aid in the amount of $1,000, as did the Center for Food Action and Bergen Community Action Program for the first and last month's rent and security, if I could prove that I could sustain an apartment thereafter. We were then placed 30th on a waiting list. Unfortunately, I've not been able to achieve my goal of sustainability. In 2013, Greg was approved by a judge for Social Security SSI, but the ruling was overturned by a directive of the Social Security Office. It is well documented by Marfan Foundation and presented to Congress that the Social Security list of impairments falls short of addressing the true debilitating residual effects of this condition. We now await a judge's ruling on a March 4, 2016 appeal. We applied to Personal Preference Program as well, which allows a Medicaid patient such as Greg to have a family member act as a caregiver, paid by Medicaid at $10 an hour. After months of waiting, my follow-up call resulted in being informed that this group had no record of our application and we had to try again. Income from SSI and or personal preference would allow me to prove sustainability in rent payments. A detailed letter written by me was received at the office of Bergen County Executive James Tedesco this week, and I received a phone message today from Lynn Bartlett, the director of the Bergen County Housing. We were never placed on a set-aside list for senior status or disabled in 2007 when I applied. In a matter of weeks, I must find a place to house my son and I. The owners of the house we are temporarily staying are moving out of state. At the closing of an interagency council on homeless meeting headed by Governor Christie and then Commissioner Velez, stated, without a place to call home, it is incredibly difficult to secure and retain a job or nurture a family. Safe permanent housing truly is a key factor in helping maintain self-sufficiency. If there are any avenues I've not approached, I would appreciate meeting with the freeholder for further advice and direction in that regard. Extended stay hotels and motels seem to be the only option at this critical time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to have my aide give you my card, and we'll circle back, and I'll touch base with Lynn Bartlett as well and see what's being currently explored.
Christy DeGeorge.
DEGEORGIS. Christy, CHRISTY. So I'm just here following up. Last time I was here, I was I was asking for a retail, an ordinance to ban the retail sale of puppies. And from you guys, I heard, well, we're very animal friendly, but why should we pass this when the state is going to be passing legislation? That's what you said, Chairman Tonelli. You said, we're very animal friendly, no reason to pass ceremonial legislation when the state will pass a retail pet sale ban. I asked Senator Raymond Lesniak, I said, Senator, do you think New Jersey counties should continue to pass bans on the retail sale of pets or wait for your legislation to pass? He said, move forward. It will help get my statewide ban passed and signed into law. Okay, so don't use that as an excuse.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you for 1 second. I have been in communication with our council, and our council is looking into drafting an ordinance, just so you know, so you can settle down. We're working on an ordinance.
So
A
you are
countywide
working on an ordinance because
when you left, I consulted with the council, and the council's looking into it. So hopefully we'll have something. He's away, so we can't address it tonight. The council's away on vacation. So at our next Freeholder meeting, we should have an answer for you as to where we're moving.
Okay, and who's the Freeholder council? What?
Mr. Florio.
Mr. Florio, okay.
I'm not Mr. Florio.
He's formerly known as.
He's his associate.
He's
not here tonight.
An aide, okay. Yeah, so, you know, and I sent a follow-up, I heard nothing. I sent a follow-up email to those of you like Mrs. Voss and I sent one to John and also Tracy. I sent an email to 3 of you, but I got nothing in response. So I'm just gonna read my email now. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the dogs and puppy mills who have no voice. In 1944, Time magazine got away with calling puppy mills concentration camps for dogs. Little has changed. The pet industry is one of the most secretive industries in the U.S. Every day in Bergen County, residents who purchase puppies in pet stores are unknowingly buying cruelty. We are saying it's okay for dogs to suffer in horrible conditions in USDA breeding facilities in Iowa, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and Missouri. That's where these dogs that are being sold in New Jersey stores are coming from. The man from Just Pups Paramus, he owns a mill in Missouri. Okay, there's nothing to stop him from opening a new store in anywhere in Bergen County. He has that right now. We cannot wait for state legislation that may or may not pass. We must act now. And I would like to set up a meeting. I got no response when I emailed. I'd like to set up a meeting with you. We can speak about this issue in detail, and I can address some of the questions you must have, such as how will residents be able to buy a purebred puppy? Of course, if residents want to buy a purebred puppy, they have that right, and they can certainly do that, and I can tell you how. How will pet stores that are already operating be able to stay in business? There's an answer to that. So would anyone be willing to meet with me? I could possibly get someone from the Humane Society to come. Did you guys ever get my email?
I don't think I got it.
No? Okay.
Well, I'd be happy to meet with you.
Okay.
I think that's, well, please, more?
I think a lot of us would be happy to meet with you, so I would defer to the chairman.
I think what we'll do is I'll put together a committee that'll hand, because then the committee could also work on whatever ordinance they feel might be adequate for us to pass. So we'll get your cards before you leave.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You know, Mr. Chairman, if I may, there were some folks that came up regarding issues with circuses and circus animals and exotic animals and wild animals. And they met with us each individually. Right. There's been issues of people regarding the pipeline, for and against, that met with us. That's our job. So I'm sure each of the aides could give the respective contact information. You can set up those appointments. You could certainly set up
only the people who are animal friendly and would like to be involved.
I have a cat, so.
You know.
I have 5 cats.
Okay.
All right, so what we'll do is, like I said, we'll put together a committee of freeholders that are interested in
That would be interested, yeah.
And then we'll
And it's and it would be historic, just so you know.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Can I bring my cat?
Well-
Play this?
All right, we'll discuss that, okay.
All right, so-
Mr. Nichols, you're up.
I'm John.
We were looking forward to it. Mr. Beanstalk.
Thank you.
That's
great.
Good evening, Claude Beanstalk, Fairlawn. I know I'm repetitious, but I want to see more progress being done to restore the Williams Center in Rutherford. I don't want the problem ignored. I feel the freeholders can look into it more. I'm a supporter of the cultural arts, especially show business, and I think having the Williams Center back in operation as soon as possible will restore concerts, and it will be a place where they could have conferences and seminars on the arts, and people can meet with the artists. It could be poets, it could be rock and roll shows, it could be classical music, it could be movie stars, it could be television stars, TV and radio stars, entertainers, one-man concerts, one-woman concerts, whatever you want to have there, choruses. And I think the freeholders can do more. I know I'm very repetitious, but I believe strongly in the restoration of cultural arts. And, you know, I'm not waiting for the media and the press to do something about it. I think the more I speak out about it, the more something will happen. And thanks for listening. I don't want to bore you with all the details about it. I'm not an engineering expert. I can't fix the building myself. I don't have the money to restore the operation. It's going to take a lot of money, which I don't have. Please do something about it as quickly as possible, because I think the public is really believes in what I'm saying, and I want to see some action, and action now. Thank you for listening to me. I'm glad I had the opportunity to speak before you about this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I just wanted, Mr. Beanstalk, I just want to let you know that the county executive had a meeting with all the parties involved.
Good.
The report's been released with a dollar figure that would have been able to make the building at least accessible to get in and maybe renovate it. It's way out of the county's price range to actually go it alone. So the county executive met with all the interested parties, whether it was the board, the town of Rutherford governing body, for them to try and figure out next steps. So the county right now has now discussed options with the town, and we're waiting for feedback from the town of Rutherford as to whether it's going to be part of the redevelopment plan. So options are out there, but this governing body and the county executive are now waiting for responses from the township of Rutherford.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Dunsey.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just
Sure.
follow up, could we all get a copy of that report?
It's sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I've requested a number of times, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dunsey.
Good evening. First off, I photocopied the first few pages of the booklet they gave out at the Together North Jersey conference that was at Rutgers a couple weeks ago. I brought it for the county administrator. Sorry for the handwritten notes. I didn't expect to have to share it. But, you'll see the map in the first couple pages has Bergen County highlighted as the area, part of the area they're looking at. But today mostly I wanted to ask about the pay-to-play regulations. I remember there was some fanfare several months ago when the county passed new regulations preventing pay-to-play situations, and I think you appointed someone in charge of investigating things like that. I was wondering, how does a private citizen bring a situation to the attention of the county when he thinks there was some inappropriate actions by an elected official? That's it.
Go to John Liberty. John Liberty, maybe?
Can I
Sure. Freeholder?
First of all, the ordinance that we passed regarding pay to play was 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So, and we significantly strengthened the regulations to make sure that we were keeping the influence of money out of governing. Additionally, we appointed an inspector general who is in charge with making sure and supervising to make sure that that ordinance is being followed. So I'm not sure I understand what your question is. If you want to speak to me about it offline, I'm happy to talk to you and maybe perhaps guide you in the right direction.
Okay, can I get your card?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Lacy? Well, I'm sure something else. Good evening. Good evening.
L-A-C-E-Y. My question is, will there be anyone assigned to the mental health law project since they say they're very low on attorneys? They claim they're missing an attorney. They're very low and they can't help somebody that needs help because they don't have enough attorneys to take on the cases.
You want to answer?
Sorry.
It's all right.
To the extent that I can speak, there is a gentleman, one of our attorneys, which would give us a full complement of attorneys, is currently out on sick leave. That's to the extent that I really want to mention that. But upon his return, and he is slated to return, we would have a full complement of attorneys once again. So I understand with that one attorney that, that we're losing the ability at this current time to be able to handle that caseload that he would normally handle. But he is due to return.
Oh, okay. Well, I was under the understanding that they either quit or retired or something and nobody's been put into place. And they said they need help. I work right here in the heart of town and I work with a lot of people that need help. And they're telling me that they can't get no help and nobody will talk to them. So, I mean, it's like they're telling them, we can't see you because we're short. So I could tell them that somebody will be back shortly?
Absolutely. And I could tell you, I could reassure you that the mental health law project remains one of our top priorities. And it's a very, very important program, has been for many, many years. And we've always had a full complement of attorneys there. We still do, but there is an attorney that is out on sick leave, and we expect him to return and to pick up his duties once again.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if there are any individuals who are having specific problems sir?
I'm sorry.
If there are any individuals who are having specific problems that are not being addressed, they can feel free to bring them to the attention of this board and specifically to me, and I'll be happy to look into the cases and see what we can do to expedite their assistance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Salvador Moretti.
Salvatore Moretti, Paramus, New Jersey, Alpine Drive. I spoke a while back with regard to form and content and Hegelian analysis of philosophical issues. When I was in high school at Engwood School, I put forth a screenplay, Forbidden Planet, which was based upon the use of atomic energy by the Krells. I felt that would have some impact with regard to the nature of the center of the Earth and other planetary bodies possessing atomic reactions, and in fact atomic reactions were rife throughout the universe. I visited Cecil B. DeMille in Hollywood. I appeared in Trapeze. with Burt Lancaster and so forth. When I was in Rome with Ezra Pound, I had some access to the Vatican Library in 1942. And certainly I would have been concerned with the nature of biblical research, theological research, and the interrelationship between the Central European powers and the split between the Anglican Church and Rome. Of course, at that time, E = mc squared was a common physical formula. For c, the speed of light, which is a large number squared times a mass, producing a large amount of energy, which is, I believe, rather facetious. I think they split between Sparta and Athens, simply continued into the split between the continental Europe and England, and of course the British set forth the nature of the geological history as being 5 billion years as opposed to 5,000. So I note that as a possible base for the conflict between the science and the arts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. No one else wishing to speak? May I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Will the clerk please read the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Sure. Resolutions 519-16 through 530-16, 532-16 through 538-16, 540-16 through 542-16, 544-16 through 546-16, and 548-16 through 555-16.
May I have a motion to accept the
So moved.
this consent agenda?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Who was first?
David was first.
Okay.
Tracy was second.
Freeholder Di Nicola.
Yes.
Freeholder Felice.
Yes.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Yes.
Freeholder Voss.
Yes.
Freeholder Zur.
Yes.
Chairman Tinelli.
Yes. Are there any resolutions of non-consent pulled or tabled? If so, will the clerk please read them?
Resolution of non-consent is 547-16, which is a resolution authorizing to approve the 2015 Open Space Trust Fund Grant Award recommendations.
May I have a motion to
So
introduce?
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll. Oops.
Hold on a sec.
Chairman, would you accept some discussion
Sure.
on that and the resolution? I believe it's 554. Just on open space in general, I think it's important to know that this board is utilizing not only the Open Space Trust Fund to fund projects, but when those projects are completed, we're repurposing any funds that are left over. This really, in essence, gives you double the amount of use. And what's important is that a town like Fairlawn is able to fund the county's Garrison Forge Farm, the Noggle House, and other items throughout that are all listed in the resolution itself. I'm very proud to participate in this, and I hope that later this year we can formulate a policy to make a determination whether the board will back increasing the trust funds.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted a couple of things in the open space. Grew up in Bergenfield, my hometown, the Cooper's Pond there. It's going to receive a $15,000 grant. Anyone that lived in Bergenfield knows that that's really the landmark of Bergenfield, and I'm happy that we were able to do that, as well as the lighting at Bergenfield's Memorial Field. If you grew up in Bergenfield, again, that was the place everything happened, Memorial Field. And we're going to increase recreation on that field, which is just it's fabulous. It's a great place to be. And in my current hometown of Montvale, we're going to continue to fund some open space with Huff Park, which was a park that was donated years ago to the borough. And I'm glad to see we're giving some open space there as well. So make open space money. So thank you.
Thank you. So I was going to wait for my report, but let's comment on this as well. So the two freeholders identified a couple specific projects, but I just want everyone to know that open space pretty much goes from Mawa to North Arlington. Every community that sends in an application and the application meets the specifications usually gets something out of the Open Space Trust Fund, whether it's to recondition a passive park or recondition tennis courts. Bergen County is very proud of our open space and our parkland. We try and encourage our municipalities to keep as much open space as possible and as much recreation and quality of life things available to our residents. So we are all sitting up here, we're all very proud of what open space does for Bergen County, including acquiring properties, flood properties with Blue Acres money, which is a whole nother portion of the open space. So when we vote on these things, it's an opportunity for communities to recondition things that have been neglected or abused for years. So, yes, can you please call the roll?
Freeholder Di Nicola.
Yes.
Freeholder Felice.
Yes.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Yes.
Freeholder Voss.
Yes.
Freeholder Zor.
Yes.
Chairman Tinelli.
Yes. Are there any resolutions pulled?
There are resolutions 531-16, 539-16, and 543-16 were all pulled today as per administration.
Thank you. Now have freeholder committee reports. Freeholder Felice, would you like to go first?
I would love to go first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, we introduced the Bergen County budget for 2016. I believe we're going to be introducing it. I mean, the second reading will be, the passing of it will be, I believe, June 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
It's 1 month from when we introduce it. It was a lot of work. I want to thank again all my colleagues for their attendance, their questions, their constructive criticism. I believe it was a very collaborative process. I tried to make it as transparent as possible. It was more accelerated than it was the year before. Last year it was 6 days, 6 days and 6 hearings. This was 5 days consecutively. So it was, I want to thank all the staff to be there on time and to do what they needed to do. And I think there's some back and forth with some of the freeholders and submitting questions and so forth, and I've submitted that information appropriately to the administration for answers. So again, thank you my colleagues and the entire staff for all their hard efforts, and I kind of miss Joe Lupino, seeing him every morning at 8 a.m. So, but I did call him this morning at 8, no, only kidding. And I just want to speak just briefly about the Bergen Regional Medical Task Force report that was submitted on April 27th to the public. And here again, this is a roadmap, and this is a broad brush approach to the vision of that committee that I was proud to serve on. And I look forward to the appropriate entities responding to the RFI and RFQ, request for information and request for quote and or proposal. And here again, I'm very proud to have served on that board, and I believe no turn was not overturned. And it was, I think, a very give and take and positions of various viewpoints that were presented. So I look forward to the next step, and that's the responses that come back and the final selection and then implementation of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, speaking of the budget first, the first thing I want to do is thank in public John Felice, the budget chairman, he did a thorough job, a great job. Got me out of bed early, which I didn't appreciate, but that's okay. And through his efforts and the entire Freeholder board, we were able to cut over $700,000 from the proposed budget. And I think that's wonderful, and it's a very responsible budget. We had some built-in costs that we had to address, and they were addressed. But the budget process was typical pro tem board chair, Mr. Felice, bipartisan effort. We went through it line by line, and everyone had a say. So I couldn't think of a better way to do it, and I couldn't think of a better guy to have as the chair. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Freeholder. That's very kind.
On Saturday, May the 7th, I attended Habitat for Humanity's National Women's Build Week in Bergenfield. It's always nice to go home. It was really nice. It was a rainy day. We had a lot of volunteers. They all came out to support the Habitat for Humanity, and that's where you build a house for first-time homeowners, excuse me. And it was a great thing to see. The homeowner was there. A lot of the women in politics was there to show their support, and all the volunteers on that day were women slinging hammers and doing whatever it took to build a house. And it was great to see the women getting involved, and equal pay for equal job. Right? I'm a firm believer in that. So I want to say thank you to everyone that came out on that day. Assemblywoman Huddle was there, Caridi was there, Assemblywoman Caridi, along with the Bergenfield mayor, who's not a woman, but he was there. But there was a lot of people there, and it was really well attended, and it was nice to talk about women in the workplace. And they did chide me about my 3 girls. They wanted to sling a hammer, but they're too young. So I also attended the Hills Valley Coalition on Mental Health. They had a resource fair at Pascack Hills High School, which is in Montvale. The coalition brought together law enforcement, health professionals, the school faculty, all of them coordinated to help the students learn about the importance of maintaining mental health. That's something that I'm a firm believer in, as are many of my colleagues here on the board. We realize now that mental health, it needs to be addressed, and we continue to address it. We continue to address it in our budget, and we continue to fight the fight. I will continue as a freeholder, for as long as I'm a freeholder, to fight that effort, to continue that effort. And I want to say thank you to the coalition, who did a wonderful job. There was plenty of tables set up, and they spoke to the parents in the auditorium and gave them a great education, which we all know education is the key to everything. So I want to say thank you for that. Tonight we passed a resolution 54016, which authorizes Bergen County Community Transportation to accept an $80,000 grant from New Jersey Transit for the Job Access Reverse Commute, a program known as JARC or JARC. This program helps seniors and disabled residents to get around Bergen County and assist with transportation to and from medical appointments. They play also to their employment and to and from senior centers. So it's a great program, and we need to take care of all of our seniors. And also, I attended the other day, I want to thank Caesars Foundation, Meals on Wheels. I attended the press conference and the donation of a vehicle for Bergen County's use for Meals on Wheels. The vehicle will be able to strengthen our ability to provide the residents who participate in the program the food and other supplies they need to live independently and age in place. The gift meant a lot, and our Bergen County residents deserve it. As I've heard my colleague Freeholder Voss say numerous times, sometimes the people that get the Meals on Wheels, this is their only interaction with some people, and it's really, really important, and they look forward to it. And it's just a wonderful service, and thank you to Caesars for stepping up and donating a van. Found out that day that was the 57th van that they've donated for Meals on Wheels. Fantastic. So if you go to Atlantic City, support Caesars, huh? All right? Thank you very much, Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Freeholder Voss.
Thank you, Chairman. I also want to commend our President Pro Tempore on what he has done for the budget. 2 years in a row, John, you did a fantastic job. When he first said we were going to do this in 6 days, like a war, I said that has never happened. I've worked on so many budgets, but he pulled it off last year, and again this year even better than it was last year. And I think we have a very good budget which everyone participated in, and I think that it will be for the benefit of the county that all of the things that we have in place will be passed. May is the month in which the State of Israel was founded 68 years ago. So we had a few programs here at the county. One of them was Holocaust Remembrance, and in this room we had the members of, actually I think 1 or 2 actual survivors of the Holocaust, and then children of Holocaust survivors, and they told us about the stories. And it's one of the things we should never, never, never forget, the death of 6 million people. And then here at the county, and Tracy Zer did a wonderful job as mistress of ceremonies, we had a program. It was actually celebrating two things: a day of remembrance for all the people who have sacrificed their lives to have the state of Israel survive, and of course the commemoration of the 68th anniversary of Israel. And going along with that, one of my best friends is a fantastic artist, and I know you can't see this, but she's a photographer, and one of the things that she did was to write a book and take pictures of people in Eastern Europe who survived the Holocaust and are still alive today, but they're in dire poverty. So she did a series of photographs which she has donated to the Jewish home up in Rockley, and I went up there to see this last Sunday. And the exhibition is very, very worthwhile. This is a woman in Eastern Europe, and she's holding the picture of her husband who died. And again, we can't forget those who are less fortunate, and we certainly can't forget those who have suffered unspeakable atrocities in their lives. We have a very wonderful lady right now. Her name is Cynthia Forster, who is the historical and cultural director here at Bergen County. People don't realize the wonderful, wonderful history of Bergen County. Our name goes back to the 1600s when Dutch settlers came here, and we have so many historic places. I live in Fort Lee, and that certainly is a place that you should all visit. We do historic tours because that's where Thomas Paine wrote his "These are the times that try men's souls," because we had a fort there. And every year we have in November Retreat to Victory, which is discovering all of the places that Washington and his men went as they tried to win our American Revolution. And it's very inspiring. And as I said, Cynthia has done a marvelous job, and so many people who have restored historic homes or who have done things like the Retreat to Victory were honored for the things they do. I think high rises are fine, but don't knock down the history and replace it with, modern buildings, because a little bit of both is the best thing. Yin and yang, and balance, and everything. I have to say that I look forward to May the 26th. That's Thursday, a week from tomorrow. And we're going to have the Asian and Pacific Island Heritage observance. And we're going to have a really wonderful program here. The Filipinos, the Indians, the Koreans, the Chinese are going to do performances. We're going to have a guest speaker who is going to inform. Bergen County is amazing because we have more ethnic groups, more religions, more everything. We are the personification of what America is all about, okay? Because everybody here is represented, everybody has a voice. So if you have a chance next Thursday at 5:30, come and see. We'll have some beautiful performances and food, so that's always a little incentive.
Food?
All kinds of food. Everybody's bringing. We're going to have samosas, we're going to have Filipino food, we're going to have Korean food, and so it should be a lovely evening. I also want to echo what my colleague over here talked about, the Meals on Wheels program. This is so vitally important, and as Tom said, sometimes the people who deliver the meals are the only people that some of our clients see. There's another thing. Maybe when you go downstairs, you'll see bins, and these bins are to collect adult products because many people suffer from incontinence. It's not it shouldn't be a secret, but many people living on fixed incomes cannot afford these products. They're very expensive, actually, and if you're living on Social Security, it's almost impossible. So we're donating products, and our people on Meals on Wheels deliver those products to people who are in need of them, and so that's another service that we perform here at the county level. We're always looking out for people, and this is also Older American Month, okay? So think about the Meals on Wheels and think about the incontinence thing. Tomorrow at 5:30 at Overpeck Park, there's going to be the wall, the mobile or the military appreciation. It's the moving wall, okay? And we can't forget all of the people who have sacrificed for this country, and we have to appreciate our veterans, and we have to appreciate the guys and gals who are serving in the military today. And so please, if you have a chance, 5:30 tomorrow at Overpeck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Freeholder Gaines?
Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple of comments this evening. First, is a compliment John Felice on an outstanding job on the budget. I do want to complain about the 8 o'clock in the morning hour.
Next year you can make it later.
Actually, I was working out at Kessler the other days, and I have to be there at 8 o'clock as well. It's fine. I want to point out that we went through the budget line by line, and even though some of you think that the smallest item that we looked at was $500 or $1,000, it actually turns out to be 29 cents, which is the cost that the prosecutor told me that a bullet that is used in training costs. And this becomes important because they train and have to qualify twice a year, and then we have remediation costs on top of that. So we're looking at budget from 29 cents up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I assure you that John Felice pinched the pennies, and this board took the time to make sure that this is the tightest and leanest budget in recent memory. The open space trust that we talked about a little while ago, I'm pleased to see that my hometown of Fairlawn is receiving 3 grants, 2 of which are preservation projects, and the other of which is part of the municipal park program. The municipal park program this year has a total of 50 different projects that are being done. The one that we have in Fairlawn that's most interesting is we are going to have a miniature golf course placed at the site of the old Walsh Pool. Cool. This, John Felice, who grew up in Fairlawn, knows what the old Walsh Pool was. My kids used to use it, but in recent years it's fallen into disuse, and the council, together with the mayor, closed it down, filled it in, but there's open space funds for golf course, miniature golf course, that's going to be able to be used by all the people in the county. And I remember as playing miniature golf as a kid, I always did better at the miniature golf than on the big golf course.
Didn't we all?
And I hope that continues to be the case.
Right? The one in the clown's mouth.
Meals on Wheels, one of the other components of it, we've talked about how this is a lifeline to the individuals that are there. What I found is that when I was Fairlawn's mayor, I used to go out on occasion with the drivers, and the drivers knew their clients. And if a client's door was open a small degree, they knew that at this particular house, that meant that the person was in and wanted to talk. At another house, if they didn't see it, they would call a medical call in. It's our way of keeping track of our advanced senior citizens. And this is a tremendous service. A couple of years ago, in another administration and another time, there was a cutback on people participating in the Wheels on Meals program. There was a long waiting list of thousands of names. I did check today or yesterday, and there is no backlog at all in the Meals on Wheels program. Freeholders, job well done. I was up in Mawa this morning for Police Memorial Day, and I have to tell you that it was a very, very impressive ceremony. When at the end of it, they had a police helicopter fly over very, very low and almost duck your head low. But it was a tremendous tribute to the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And sadly, Officer Marianne Kalura her name was called among them. She's an officer from my hometown of Fair Lawn who was shot by a perpetrator who then got in her car and rolled over her. That's something that as a human being, not just as an elected official, is something I'll never forget. I said after that weekend that I hoped I never heard the bagpipes play again. I've heard them play several times after that, but what's clear from events like this today is that we will never forget brave officers like Marianne Kleur. I haven't talked about the Bergen Wellness Program in a while, so indulge me for a moment. The Bergen Wellness Program is a discount program that we have. It's county operated, doesn't cost anything for the card, but if you have a pet who has a medical condition such as diabetes or any of the common illnesses such as amoxicillin, that can be made by a pharmacist into something for your pet, which would be tuna flavored amoxicillin. This is a great card, it's a great program, and you save 30% on pet prescriptions to boot.
That may be a compound prescription.
That was good. Good shot, Maura.
All the more reason to use the Bergen Wellness card.
All the more reason to use the Bergen Wellness card as my straight man continues to feed lines to me.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
What is particularly good about this is the card costs nothing. You can print it from the Freeholder website, and you can use it in 55,000 pharmacies across the United States. You can also use it for human drugs, and in the case of some human drugs, the discount goes to almost 50%. This is tremendous where you have the so-called donut hole, where you don't have coverage more than $15 million that they otherwise would have paid. It's absolutely free to get the card, and you use what you use. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Di Nicola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add one comment on open space. As incredible a program as it is, that the pockets of Bergen County where we find vast open space right now are few. And we really have to support when a municipality that does have such a large block of property wants to preserve it, because once it's gone gone forever. I first want to give a big shout out to all of our EMS volunteers. Last week was EMS week, and I know a lot of municipalities had awards and all kinds of events to show their appreciation for them. I do at home too, because I know when I have my heart attack in the kitchen, that survival is going to depend on those volunteers that answer the call and address the issues. And they do that every day throughout Bergen County. So it was good to see them get some of the support that they're due. Also last week we graduated another class of Firefighter 1 volunteers. 105 volunteers over at the the John Greco Auditorium at the Academy's high school right here in Hackensack, walked across the stage. The acting prosecutor was our keynote speaker, and once again, it was great to see that we just continue to support our municipalities with such an army of volunteerism. And they were supported in turn by a lot of their chiefs and officers who come up on stage to give them their certificate. As Freeholder Gann said, this morning was the Police Memorial Day ceremony. We thought it was going to rain, but you can see from our faces that the sun was shining very strongly there. was probably the most well-attended ceremony that I've been to in these past 6 years. And it's something certainly very dear to me. I'm fond of saying, especially as old as I get and as many things that I do, that what I am most proud of, I've always been and I always will be, and that's a policeman's daughter. And to see all the families there of fallen police officers from Bergen County, Judy Gray from Oakland, who was a teacher for my 2 youngest children, she comes every year. It was 38 years ago that as a young housewife with 2 little children, her patrolman husband was assaulted and succumbed to his injuries. So it's days like this that are so important for family members. We can't forget, and we shouldn't forget. And certainly with what's happening with law enforcement, we need to be there to support those who are on the front line for us. Disability services. Access for All continues. We saw Teaneck last night introduce their ordinance. Last week, Maywood passed their resolution, and we have 4 other towns now that have something on the burner for Access for All. So that's going to bring up 27 municipalities across Bergen County. Of course, we want to get all 70 towns on board with this very, very important advisory committee representing those citizens with disabilities. The second fastest growing segment of our population, second only to seniors, who we are championing and celebrating this month. We had our annual forum last Saturday, the 14th, in East Rutherford. Freeholder Zor was there, and also the chairman came after I left. We each gave presentations. We're looking forward to the next one, and certainly growing this very, very important initiative. And Bergen County has really been at the forefront of the state of New Jersey in doing this. Following along with that, I also attended the Turning Point Award ceremony with Freeholder Zor at Bergen Community College. This is Garden State Pathways to Independence for Students with an Intellectual Disabilities program. And we gave awards, actually certificates of achievement, from the Department of Continuing Education to 13 students who worked very hard over the last 2 years. And it was great to see. 6 years in the making. This was our 4th graduating class, and it's a tribute not only to Tracy Rand and the Department of Disability Services at Bergen Community College, to the students, of course, and their families, but also to the student mentors, to the job coaches from Bergen County Special Services, who went along with these students on their outside classroom learning, their internships in preparation for employment after graduation. And tomorrow they'll participate in the full graduation of Bergen Community College at MetLife Stadium, which will be great to see as well. I ran out of the Access for All Forum so that I could drive down to McGuire Air Force Base, where my daughter-in-law, still feels funny saying that, daughter-in-law, but she had flown in the night before. She's actually a mission commander for an E-2 squadron, and they flew into McGuire to participate in the Joint Base Air Show, which took place on Saturday and Sunday. And when you talk about a show of proud military force, that really was what that air show was all about. I know many of you know that my son is just completing his 7th year of active duty. He's a fighter attack pilot stationed on the East Coast and off somewhere. I'll hear later when he returns. But so important, as was said by this board before, to support our active military and also our veterans. And that dovetails with a number of other events that took place throughout the county. I'm now a trustee for the YWCA that's headquartered here in Bergen County. It's about empowering women and eliminating racism. And they celebrated their 95th anniversary nationwide with a gala called Walking the Talk. And while they honored a number of women, including Gina Platino, who had been the head of the Department of Human Services and ADV and has continued with her incredible work, and Assemblywoman Valerie Huddle, they also honored a number of men. And among them was A.J. Luna, who is the new head of our Division of Veteran Services. And he really is out there in the community. There are a lot of organizations that I belong to where it's so nice to see the county partner in supporting active duty military, their families, and also veterans. And one of the initiatives he's bringing to us, as Freeholder Voss mentioned, is the movable Vietnam War Memorial. And this is a memorial that travels throughout the country. It'll be here in Overpet Park from tomorrow until Monday. Anyone can come to visit it until 10 p.m. at night. And we're going to open it up with a very special ceremony, 5 o'clock tomorrow. 5:30. So that will be, I want to say it'll be good to see. It'll be very, very moving to see. Anyone who has seen the original in Washington, D.C., over 58,000 Americans perished during the Vietnam War. And the memorial also includes the name of women. And there is one Bergen County woman who is on the wall. That's Captain Eleanor Alexander, who was a 26-year-old nurse from Westwood, and she was killed in a plane crash returning to her evac unit on the front line. So I hope you'll all take the time and stop over at Overpet Park, which also is an incredible county facility, but to see this very moving monument and to support those who have served. And certainly at the end of the month, we'll also honor those who served and gave their all. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Well deserved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of my committees were very active this week. First of all, on the economic development front, we had a couple major things going on in Bergen County. The first was this Building Bergen event at Bergen Community College, which brought together all of those who are involved in development, redevelopment, and having a real conversation with not only officials of the county, but state officials as well, as far as tapping into potential resources, and how we get people back to work, how we repurpose buildings, how we make sure that we...
Time to make the donuts.
We needed that for the last report. Just started. How we enliven our downtowns, how we redevelop our brownfields, how we get people back to work. It was a tremendous event. And congratulations to Joanne Samaluka for coordinating it all. We also had a ribbon cutting at Bergen Community College on the Health Professions building. This is a state-of-the-art building with Sims labs like you can't believe that are going to make accessible to our students at Bergen Community College just the state-of-the-art in education. And not only does that feed into workforce development for the largest sector of our workforce, but it makes sure that we're getting the care that we need in Bergen County. And so, congratulations to the Board of Trustees, to Dr. Kay Walter, and to all of those who were involved in making sure that we now have really just a tremendous facility in the state-of-the-art at Bergen Community College. I also had the joy of going to Career Day at Memorial Middle School, so a little lower on the totem pole as far as career development is concerned, but seeing the lights in some of these kids' eyes as they explored different careers and really turning them on to what the world of work could potentially be was really a wonderful joy, and it was well put together by all of those at Memorial Middle School. We also had, as others have touched upon, the Access for All event, where we really
brainstormed with all of the advocates who are on the front lines regarding how we continue to bring issues that are affecting the disability community to the forefront, and how we continue to change the dialogue, focusing on individuals' abilities rather than only on the disabilities, and incorporating them more broadly into the community. It was a wonderful event, and at the East Rutherford Community Center. We also had the mental health board meeting with the county executive, Freeholder Dean Nicole, Freeholder Snelly were there as well. And the work that is being done, May is Mental Health Month. It is important for all of us to understand that this county has tremendous services available for those who are in need. And as we are continuing to put an emphasis on stigma-free, on taking the stigma away from mental illness, and making sure that we're providing comprehensive care, both from the Mental Health Law Project on down to so many people on the front lines. It was a wonderful opportunity to continue that discussion, and also congratulate those who are working and giving forth their energies in that area. Freeholder Ross touched very eloquently on what we did here at the county, and Freeholder Dean Nicole also spoke about the turnout at the police memorial. I think one of the things that needs to be applauded is those in the county who are doing so much more outreach to make sure that all of the ceremonies that we're doing here and all of the interests that we're in disparate pieces of our county are being honored in ways that are appropriate. The Yom HaShoah event, the flag raising was wonderful, but it is wonderful in general that we are outreaching to the community and making them know what we have available here at the county, and that we're honoring the way that they are contributing to our community as a whole. And that is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. So, not to repeat what everyone else says, I have a couple of other things on my report. So, we did have the Great Hunger. One of our people in the audience mentioned the Great Hunger that we had here. It was pretty unique. The keynote speaker happened to be a former county executive, Pat Schubert. We also had former county executive Kathy Donovan in the audience, so it was actually a pretty nice picture that we were able to take a picture with 3 county executives out of, I think, the 5 that we've had. So it was actually, unfortunately, the weather. It mentioned that the weather was not cooperative, so we had it in these chambers versus outside, where we usually get a much nicer crowd. I attended the Rutherford Library Foundation Gala.
I spoke.
Tom spoke at that. Very eloquently. This year's Rutherford Foundation Library Foundation Gala, I'd like to congratulate this year's honoree, Rutherford resident Sheila Flattery McPherson, strong supporter of the library. Ms. McPherson is an active member of the Women's Club in Rutherford and was responsible for the founding of the library, or instrumental. I also want to talk about the MS Day that most of us attended one somewhere. The greatest thing about that was it was an education for anyone that attended. In North Arlington, they actually cut a car to show how the fire department works with the emergency squad to take people out of a car from an accident, how they work cooperatively, the steps that are taken, the tools that are used. For somebody that's never seen that before, it takes a lot of precision and a lot of working together and teamwork and training for them to be able to do that and safely remove people from accidents. So it was an education. A lot of children there watching. It's just something I think that'll be in their minds forever, as far as maybe driving a little safer, seeing a banged up car, as far as the damage that could actually happen. Open space, just really briefly, North Arlington was one of those also that got an award tonight. They're able to renovate their Little League field to a point where they can expand their tournament participation, where they can bring their standards up to the national level and can bring some of the Williamsport games into North Arlington. They're already very active Little League field, one of the better fields in the South Bergen. This just elevates it. It just shows that with the commitment from the municipality, as we've all mentioned, and the county, we're able to work together to upgrade these facilities and maintain open space in Bergen County. I'd also like to thank our camera people, Gina Chun and Jessica Schindler, for their work tonight, for hanging in there with us. And there being nothing further to come before this board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 8:50.